Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Bold Badass Business Show, where we bring you badasses from all over the world. And today, we have in the house Marjorie Gutierrez, who is a world traveler now in London, residing in London. And so she's up late. Thank you, Marjorie, for staying up late for us. And she's here to talk with us, you all, about smart business designing and how to attract high-end luxury clients. Now, you all, you need to know that Marjorie, for years, was involved in the fine art industry in both New York and London. She's also been involved with travel and just some very interesting types of industries. She has a breadth of knowledge and will help you create the systems that are going to change your business and help you profit more. And today we're going to talk about how to reach those folks who can be very hard to reach. So welcome to the show, Marjorie.
Oh,
And the
thank you,
crowd goes
Dr. Barnsley.
wild. Let's do the crowd going wild. Woo!
Woo!
For those of you who are listening to this rather than seeing the video, you should have seen the video. I just have to say that was really, really funny. So I'm glad you're here, Marjorie. And, just real quickly, tell people just something about how it is to really work with those luxury high-end people, because I know you have worked with them for decades.
Well, a lot of
And come a bit closer to your mic.
Oh, sorry. Is this better?
There you go. That's better. Yeah, thanks.
Yes. A lot of high-end clients want quality. It's not only about paying for a lot of money. They pay a lot of money for quality, for being unique. They want something that is more as a piece that can be talked about, having something unique. So a lot of times they're looking for things that would make them stand apart from everybody else. And finding that unique design or product, it's not something that's marketed massively. It's literally being how do you say it, finding connections through word of mouth is how they get connected to the right designer.
That's powerful. Yes, the elite groups. So, for example, the people who are the elite speakers in my industry and the elite coaches, guess what? They all know each other. And you may gain entry through, for example, you might have worked for them. As one person I know, he worked for this coach for eons. Now they're colleagues. Or maybe you know somebody who works with them or works for them, or maybe you even take a program with them, and that's how you get to know them. But there has to be that entry point through a person.
Yes. Most coaches that work with the creatives or designers, it's through referrals. Mm-hmm. Finding you, having that credibility and visibility is allowing you that entry point. But it's not just that. You need to build that relationship. Working with high-end clients, it's not just, it's a different process. And on the other side, as a coach working with creatives, designers, or artists, you have to set structures and processes and allow them, if that's the market they want to attract, have a strategy in place. Talent and skills is just not enough.
Yes. So this process, first of all, the gaining entry, aside from knowing somebody, what are some other ways that you've seen some of the people you work with gain entry to the more luxury elite groups? Because those people are hanging out together,
Oh, yes, definitely. Networking, being visible on social media is finding it's finding your niche. It's really having that niche. What sets you apart? Why would somebody even talk to you? Why would someone approach you and feature you in their magazine? All that. Buyers are looking, they especially luxury brands, they're looking to collaborate. They're looking to connect, because if you're the next best thing, they want to get there first. But
Right.
sorry.
And it's a limited supply demand thing. Again, that's something that I think it's so important. If we're going to begin to attract high-end luxury people, we have to have a value, a real value on what we're offering that is tangible and that people get, and that is going to attract that person who is looking for the best of the best, right? We got to have the person who wants the Tesla or the Hummer, and not the broken down jalopy that has only 2 tires, But we've got to present ourselves in that way too, not only by association, but by the way we present ourselves. And I know right before coming on here, Marjorie, we were talking about the fact that you and I know each other outside of business. We know each other through business circles outside of the show, just having you as a guest. And it's very important on the show. Yes, I ask my guests to refer to me with my title, because it's an elite group. Having that PhD and having it from one of the best universities in the world, in my area, UNC Chapel Hill, go Heels, having that, I earned it. I
Yes.
earned the right. And it's so important that we use our titles, that we use those things we've earned. I was coaching somebody recently, and he's a lieutenant colonel. He wasn't using any of that in his discussion of leadership. I said, what the heck are you doing? Use your title. Not everyone becomes a lieutenant colonel, and you're only I think one step beneath a colonel. So use it.
Yeah, definitely use it. Yes, I think we come from a generation where you don't boast, you don't try and stand out, you silently stay to one side. But working with creatives, designers especially, and artists, we always start with a story. What's your story? What got you into this, you know, medium of designing? Because I worked with a client that studied linguistics, but her
Mm-hmm.
passion was designing. So after university, she went and studied design, and she was mentored by a really amazing designer. But it was always about the story. What makes your design unique? So we start off with that. And with that story, we work out her pitch, her presentation, and then comes the structure, the process. Who is your market? People throw the word niche around, your market audience and all that, but it's very important to know who you want to work with. Her goal was to become a luxury brand in 3 years, and we got her there pretty much the first 6 months. She was able
Mm-hmm.
to present her designs in a luxury department store here in London,
Mm-hmm.
because she's unique and her story is what carried her design.
Okay, now I want to pause you for a second. Now that's fascinating. It was her story that was the differentiating factor. And I can't help but think that so many luminaries, I'm thinking about different people who I've followed for a long time, like Joe Vitale and Tony Robbins. They started out poor.
Yes.
Joe Vitale was living in his office and like washing up in the big bathroom at this office building for years. Tony Robbins didn't even have money for food at one point in his life, and they have built themselves up to enter that elite group. And it's been through that story. So let me ask you this, Marjorie, what are some of the elements of the story? Like when the business owners listening, when they, or the future business owners listening, when you all listen, when they're listening, what should they be thinking about with their own story? How should they construct it so that it does interest a luxury high-end client? And one thing I'm hearing from you is that it must be absolutely unique, right? Very different.
Yeah, it has to be different. And not everybody starts off from, underprivileged or not having
Right.
the luck in their life. Some of them do start with some support from their family, but getting into this business, the story has to be what what you do will resonate with the type of people you want to connect with. What you do is you integrate your story, who you are, and why you're designing something that's very close to your heart. And
Mm.
then you meld it with culture. Maybe you're from, a tribal family. And so you put in spices around it and you make it interesting that people will say, wow, I want to know more. Wow, your designs are amazing. They're different. They won't be super different from something that's been designed maybe 100 years ago, but it's the now. Everybody's looking at the now. Everybody wants to be different. So having that story in place with a background as to how it got there is what compels people to lean in and say, oh, tell me more. I want to know more.
And what are some of the kinds of trends that you see with this luxury high-end group of clients? And I'm thinking not just with design, I'm thinking like high-end travel, I'm thinking, high-end coaching, I'm thinking, high-end real estate. What are some of the trends that you see right now that are going on that people could at least incorporate to some degree into their story?
Well, after the pandemic, a lot of people say they've scaled back,
Mm.
but it doesn't mean luxury stopped. It doesn't mean comfort stopped. People are still looking for the next best thing. You have so high end people are now maybe scaling back with what ostentatiously they used to do before, but they haven't scaled back on comfort, on design, on what makes their life fulfilling or
Mm.
unique. So they're still going to look at luxury, they're still going to look at quality, they're still going to look at what what something would cost them that would give them the experience. So it's not anymore looking at it, the product in front of them. It's the journey, the experience. What are
Mm.
they getting out of it? What does it make them feel? So luxury has moved into lifestyle.
Mm.
Lifestyle. It's moved into a different mindset. People are more looking at sustainability. Is how is it produced? Are they using child labor? It's become more ethnically more aware. So people have added awareness and other
Mhm.
things. Does
I'm
that
just
answer your
fascinated. Okay. I'm fascinated and I put it up in the chat for everybody. And by the way, if you're here, I've promised a shout out to everybody who comments. You get a special shout out. Who wouldn't want that? So just make a comment, about something you hear that strikes you right now. For those of you listening, I just hope you listen to what she just said. Luxury has moved into lifestyle. Whoa, and experience. And this is something I see, for example, in coaching and speaking right now. The trend is towards these smaller retreats that are in these exotic places. And maybe people are doing whale watching while they're also talking about business, and how to construct their business. And the sustainability factor is huge. Having
Definitely.
having things be upcycled, recycled, having things be, and we think recycled and we think, oh, that's crap. But no, 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 no. You upcycle something and it becomes art. Like I remember seeing, and Marjorie, you and I share a love of art. I remember going to a contemporary gallery in Greensboro, North Carolina. And there was an incredible African American artist. And guess what? He made his incredible pieces out of. Just take a guess. It's crazy. It's a household item.
Oh wow.
Could
Spoons,
be anything,
fork.
right? Put a guess in there. Whoever's watching, what's your guess? Toasters, baby? What did he put? Blenders? No, he used irons, like ironing clothes
Oh
irons.
wow.
And this was such an interesting exhibit. I've seen people, of course, make things out of bottles, make things out of all sorts of, found items in the woods. I've got some art over here right in my corner that is found items from the woods. And that's a way to recycle. But I had never seen such a thing. And it was beautiful. So when we think about it, it's the recycling, upcycling doesn't mean that it's, junk at all. It's a way of upholding a standard, right, Marjorie? A standard.
Yes. Yes, and a lot of post contemporary artwork, people who paint with crayons are all of a sudden selling their artwork for thousands. It's what's in demand. So knowing the market trend is also very important. How to attract high-end clients. It's not all about it's more than just networking and marketing. It's positioning. It's making you stand out. You have to you have to have a presence. You have to
Mhm.
walk the walk and talk the talk. You have to know what to talk about. You have to be interesting for somebody to listen to you. So it's not just about talent and skill, it's really strategizing a lot of components to make you stand out, for buyers to notice you, for people to connect you. You know how people always say, oh, I know someone who you can really work with. She's amazing.
Mhm.
It's word of mouth. And to
Yes.
get those high end clients, it's not putting an ad on, Instagram. It's really building connection. It doesn't happen overnight. People have to watch you and watch you and watch you. And then,
And we can move faster if we're a giver. So for example, I've had some really phenomenally well-known, super well-known people on this show, like famous people. And you're famous too, Marjorie. I'm famous, but I'm talking about a level of like millions and millions. And what is so interesting is that one of the things that I go into meeting these people with, and they introduce me to others, is how can I give to this person? How can I give to this person? That's what I desire to do. It's not what can I get? How can I give? Because I like this person's message. I like what they stand for. And it's a very powerful position. I'm not coming from a place of, oh, please come on my podcast. No, This podcast is for the best of the best. And I make that very clear. I've had people approach me and I'm like, yeah, okay. Are you a six-figure or multiple six-figure business owner? What would you talk about? And if it's not something that is interesting and different, then it doesn't make the cut. And it's important that we think about, how are we positioning ourselves? Are we positioning ourselves, trying to position ourselves with these high-end people out of need? Or are we positioning ourselves there as, I deserve to be here and I have something to give you?
it's really funny. When I started coaching, I've worked in the fine art and shipping industry for many years. So
Yeah.
I came in contact with rock stars or, us
Yeah.
clients and high profile people. But it was never about, oh, I'm connected with them, we should give them extra service because everybody has to be. I treat everybody the same way
Yes.
and I'm always there to serve. But one of the things I've always made sure is that when I have a discovery call with anyone, is I feel into it. So the intuition's high. Can I crush it for them? Can I really help them? Or do they just have a hobby and they're not going to be serious about their business, and they're not going to do the work? It's not worth it. Money is a way to, to make ends meet, or to value what you have to give, whether it's for free or they're paying. There is a value you're giving. And if you feel it's not the right client,
Mhm.
forget the price. Don't work with them.
Absolutely. And that I think is so important no matter what, I do treat everyone the same as well. I was taught that in my family. It's always been a very important principle to me. And it's about the fact that everybody matters. And I can't tell you the number of times, Marjorie, that I have gotten repeat work just because I was kind to the gatekeeper. I
Yeah.
was an administrative professional when I was in graduate school. It was one of the 3 jobs I worked to put myself through my PhD. I know that those people hold everything together because I've been there. But, yes, it's the quality of the person's character as the content of their character, I think, as Dr. Martin Luther King put it, not their color, but the content of their character that matters. And you know, in terms of high-end luxury clients, you're going to find, I always say, if you are an asswipe before you have money, you're going to be an asswipe after you have it. And
Yeah.
if you're a wonderful, kind person before you have money, you're going to be that wonderful, kind person after. Doesn't change our character. It is just a method of exchange. So where are these folks who can, for example, uh, be patrons, right? Marjorie, this is something I think about a lot right now because I'm getting some exclusive sponsors for the show and also starting to prepare a patronage plan. And there'll be some things that are like $5 a month that anybody could do. And then I want to have some very large exclusive sponsors. I have 3 already. And so with that, where do we find them online? Where are they hanging out, Marjorie?
I think it depends on what your purpose is. If your purpose is to grow this into philanthropic, maybe later on you want to grow, that's the vision. So you start with the vision, align your vision to see what your goals are, and then find out who are the type of people you want to bring in. You might have people applying for sponsorship, but do you want them attached to you? Do you want
Right.
their name
Oh, no, no,
attached?
it
So
would always it's
you're
always
always,
you're always
yeah,
vetted.
so you're
Yes.
still pre-qualifying, whether it's a
Yes.
sponsor or a client. You're pre-qualifying everything. Where do they hang out? I would start with checking out groups, Chamber of Commerce. When I moved to Mexico, I moved there on an adventure, and I wanted a business, but any business really at that time. But then I thought, well, I don't really know how to create a business, but I knew how to travel. That's when I started a travel agency, but I didn't want it to be just any travel agency. It had to be different. So I started an ecological travel business, and
Mhm.
people like, it's just another travel agency. And I was like, yeah, it will be, but it's different. And they would look at me like, yeah, yeah, we've heard that before. But no, it wasn't. I really targeted,
Mhm.
I had a target. I worked with
Yeah.
expats. The language helped
Mhm.
because of working with expats. It's English. It was easy to promote and all that. But then you have to work with the locals. How do you attract the local high end? High end was, I treated everybody the same. When the secretary called me to book a travel, I gave her the same service as a VIP. In the end, I got their bosses, their companies, the central bank. So it's all
Mhm.
about building connection. It's
Mhm.
all about building connection. I remember my partner, my business partner, she would say, You're strange. You talk to everyone, whether it's a garbage man or, and I'm like, why not? Why? She said, you chat with everyone and you just, and you don't know, you don't know. Well, you don't do it from a place of what's in it for me. You do
Right.
it from a place of service. And I think finding high-end clients is being very clear on who you are, who you want to work with, and having your processes in place to make sure that everything you do is positioning yourself to have that market, to have that connection, to build credibility, to build all that. You can do it if you can do it from, not everybody has the finances to start big. Start with what you have. Start
And
with
work
what you
up.
have. A
Yes.
lot of a lot of people are starting with zero. So start with what you have. What are your skills? What are your talents? Start with that. What are you good at? If you're good at social media, start with social media.
And I'd also like to add to that, start with what you have. I know the first years ago, the first seminar I gave was for a small business center on creative marketing for small business owners. And a friend of mine who was still my friend was actually there. Isn't that interesting with her partner? The two of them were there and we're still friends 25 years later. Um, but I started there and I didn't immediately start out speaking, keynoting at big conferences for 1,500 people or working for the Environmental Protection Agency. I didn't
Wow.
start out there. I started out with these
Mhm.
smaller venues. And I still love doing the work for the smaller venues. I never lost that because I really started where some of the people who are sitting in that small business center, I started where they're starting. I started by taking courses, business courses at the small business centers. So I really like what you're saying. And I like what you just said. I want to pause for a second and just bring attention to that again, that we can build from the top down and from the bottom up. So the way we build from the top down is we get into groups with C-suite people if we want to do corporate work, right? Or if
Yes.
we have art that the C-suite people might want, or if we want to be amongst the highest best-selling authors, we start with some of the author groups. We try to enter there, and we can enter by knowing someone, but we can also enter with the person who works with them or works for them, the
Yes.
person who works at their house,
And
we can
it's
start
exciting
again.
actually. It's exciting to do things wherever. What happens in the industries, everybody's always comparing. Oh my God, they need this. Oh, I need that. A client I worked with, when I started working with her, she told me she spent all her savings because she had a partner who was telling her, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. And I was like, but why did you need it? And they didn't know why they needed it. They just felt they needed it to get ahead. And then what happens is that you completely have zero to work with because you've spent it all on things that you don't need at that time. Later on, maybe, when you're growing, then you can start investing. But in the beginning, work with a coach. Always work with
Yes.
a coach. The coach can give you the mindset support, the structure support, the process support, the strategy. If you're going to spend and invest, start with that.
That's so true. And I talk about frequently how I tried to piece things together because I started with $1,000, basically $1,000. That's
Yep.
how I started my business. And no one who had a second income, right? And I laughingly say I had four mouths to feed. They were four animals, but they were mouths to feed aside from me, right? And that's how I started. And you're absolutely right. It shortens things when we look for a coach who is where we want to be. So if we want to be in multiple seven figures, we need to have a coach who truly has done that
Yep.
and who will show us the way. And if we want to be in six figures, we want to choose a coach who has created that. Um, and we want to choose someone who is where we want to be. So those of you listening, think about, where do you really want to go and who is there? Where is that person? And by the way, that is another thing you can do to find the people around that person and the elite people, is go check out who they're hanging out with.
Yeah.
So you
I
revere somebody, check out who are their associates.
yeah.
Look at their Facebook, look at their LinkedIn, check it out, and start showing up at some of the places they're part of. Okay, so I want to give some real practice
Oh, you froze a bit.
Association.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much as we pre-qualify potential clients, they should also do their due diligence. When hiring a coach, it's
Mhm.
so important. These are things I didn't know in the beginning when I was hiring my own coaches. It's actually, do they get me? That's so important. Do they get me? Do they know what I'm about? And for creative people, that's very important because the way they take in information is very different from someone who's big on spreadsheets and
Analytical. Yeah.
analytical. It's very different. The delivery, you have to get to know them. How do they take information that they'll do the work? That's very important. How are they? How we working with creators, you have to make it fun. You have to make it, you laugh, you sing, you do things, but behind the scenes, you're putting structure, you're putting
Yeah.
processes in place, and they're doing the work. They're not realizing they're doing the work and finding their niche. They're like, oh my God, I can see them walking down the street. I talked to them in 5 minutes. I know they're my client. They're my high end client because they've done the work, but they
Mhm.
didn't realize they were doing the work in a fun way.
Guide. They had a guide taking them through it, and that I think you and I are so big on systems and processes. I really have learned that because I am a creative. I do consider myself a creative. I'm a writer, a poet. I love to do visual art too. I was just beading earlier. I made another pretty bracelet.
Oh,
Woo!
wow. Oh, that's pretty. I
I made
like that.
four, but these are two of the ones here.
Oh,
These two
wow.
while I was on Zoom calls. Not with my clients, just to be clear, not with clients. I was sending things. But, being a creative, in business, I've really had to learn to set up the structures. And I've really had to look at structures that work for other creatives. And my coaches have really helped me with that. And that's something I provide to my clients as a badass business coach, is that structure, but not a structure that feels uh, limiting, not a structure that feels confining and constricting, a structure that is possible for them to follow and enjoy.
Yeah. You're not teaching them, you're working with them. There's a
Yes,
difference.
I
When
like,
you, yeah.
yes.
And
So
and
yeah,
when you're teaching them and working with them, you get excited about their business as well.
yeah,
You're excited. You want success for them, and they can see that. So they're finding that energy from you, and you're bringing in that energy, the intuition, it's very positive because you want them to come back and do more work.
yeah. And
Right.
one of my highest values is fun. So that's, it's gotta be creative. It's gotta be fun. It's gotta have variety. I mean, it's one of the things I absolutely adore about being in business is the variety and the freedom. A lot of people think it's time freedom. Well, yes, it's freedom to decide when you'll work and when you won't, but you're
Yes.
going to work a lot in business, you all,
Oh,
please.
yeah.
If you want to really, let's just be clear about that. I have people who they'll come in with some really crazy, just ideas that are really unrealistic. Let's put it that way. And I like to give them the no BS version. And it's not, no one is an overnight success. And there are certain things that we do and don't do that will speed us along the way. But, we need guidance. We all need guidance, and it doesn't work to try to go it alone. So, Marjorie, these high end luxury clients, what would you say are they expecting the most from people they work with or people they hire? What are they expecting the most?
um, they want clarity, so they want to get their message across. So when they want to work when they work with someone, they want to make sure that the brief is very clear.
Mm-hmm.
Just as much as working with creatives, they have to make sure you get them. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're charging a luxury for a luxury item, you have to give them
Mm-hmm.
the journey. You work together, and it becomes like a joint project.
Yes, a
because they're
collaboration.
giving you the input and you're translating that input into your design or into whatever it is you're doing for them. And at the end, it's unveiling
Mm,
an art, whether it's written, something to see or something to, visualize. It's something that gives both that feeling of accomplishment, a feeling of wow. Yeah, that's the word. Wow.
it and I wanna add something to it, it's customized. This is something you're talking about, the experience that is a nugget. Those of you listening, yes, providing an experience, a journey for our clients and prospects, that is so important. A feeling, an embodiment of the thing, but also customization. Because keep in mind this way, and I used to, I've taught creative marketing for artists, by the way. I know you and I've talked about that. I'm a creative marketing expert for small business owners, but I have a sub niche where I've loved working with artists. And they can be folk artists or they can be fine artists. I like all of it, whether they're creating gorgeous wooden decoys or beautiful oil paintings. So here's the thing, the more customization there is, the higher the perceived value and the higher the value because the
Yes.
time input and energy input is larger on the part of the maker, whether it be an artist or it be a coach. So think of it this way, those of you listening, the more accessibility you give to someone in what you're offering, the higher the value should be. So if
Yes.
somebody's in a little thing that you put up on an online 4-week class and you don't have to be there and it's delivered through video, the perceived value, it's way less and it's evergreen. You don't have to do it every single time. But when you coach somebody in a VIP day for one day or one afternoon or 2 hours, whatever it is, that is a huge customization and it's a huge value.
Yes. And working with any VIP client, you have to tailor it. Like I said earlier, is how do they take in information?
Yep.
How do you work with them? It has to be customized. You have a blueprint of how you work, but that has to constantly be tweaked to how you want the client to be successful. It has to work. You have to work hand in hand. And I always like to call it a white glove service because you are taking their hand and supporting them every step of the way. And it's very much custom tailored. It's very much tailor made, bespoke. We say bespoke because it's the same, it means the same thing.
Spoke,
Bespoke. Here in the
bespoke,
UK, they say bespoke.
BESPOKE.
Yes. And I would always say tailor made. I learned tailor made, customize. And
I've
here
heard
they say
bespoke, but
bespoke.
what the heck does it mean? It means tailored?
Yeah.
Bespoke,
Custom, bespoke.
custom, bespoke. Very Shakespearean. Could we all say together bespoke? Marjorie bespoke. I have a terrible, terrible British accent, but I lived in London for a while and I did my master's degree in Scotland. So, maybe I earned a little bit of right to butcher it. But
Yeah.
bespoke, I want to have it be bespoke. Yes, that person doesn't have money constraints. They don't have a concern about price. And interestingly, did you know the Small Business Administration here in the US, Marjorie, did this study about the differentiating factor for most people in why they choose one provider over another, provider of whatever it is. It could be somebody who's a hairstylist. It was not price that was the differentiating factor. It was not.
No.
It was the level of attention
Hmm.
given, like the experience given. the
Yes.
and that is so interesting. So what we're saying, you all, those of you listening, what we're saying today, that we're relating it to high-end luxury clients, it has to do with everyone, right? And you never know when someone who's been your client or hasn't been able to be your client because for some reason they were monetarily financially challenged in some way, they may become your high-end client. They may inherit, they may win the lottery, whatever may happen, they may become your high-end luxury client down the road. So don't forget that, this is a process. Everyone's in a process. And so we should never really assume that someone does or does not
Yes.
have money or will have or will not have money in the future, right?
And one of the things, they might not be able to afford you, but they might know someone who can use your services.
Exactly. Yes.
People are constantly recommending the best film, the best restaurant, the best food, the best thing,
Yes.
item to buy in the supermarket, things. People are constantly recommending.
Very
And
true.
so you always have to carry with you who you are. You can't be one way with a certain type of people and another way with another certain. You have
Yes.
to be the same, or it shows. It comes out.
Yes, I used to see some of that when I was in a particular organization, which will go unnamed, and certain people who were up on stage were a certain way when they were on stage in front of 2,000 people, but when they were off stage, mm, as they would say, and as Church Lady would say in Saturday Night Live, isn't that
Mm.
special? Hmm. They were very different. It was very
Yeah.
it was very incongruent. And, you
Yes.
and I were talking right before we came on about integrity,
Yeah.
and I just believe, I don't call it honesty because if you have to say, "I'm an honest person," that
Yeah.
really sounds like you're not.
Yeah.
But integrity is a very different thing. It is a quality, it's something that when we have it and we're in integrity with our highest values, no one can take this from us.
Yeah.
We can
And
give it over, but no one can take
yes.
it from us.
And I think it's very important when you're working with clients that you do what you say you're going to do.
Hmm?
And oftentimes, when you're dependent on other people to provide that service and they failed, it's still you. You can't blame, pass the buck. Oh, it was them who did not deliver. You have to be always keep them informed. And that's one of the things where integrity fails a lot, that people are scared to own up to any mistakes they've made,
Yes.
which in a way, building trust is easy, but losing it
Just
is even worse.
yeah, it's awful,
Yeah.
right? Losing it, it's pretty impossible
Yeah.
to reconstruct it after that. And we get to have contracts with people, and we need to maintain the integrity of those contracts as
Yeah.
well. And you and I were chatting about that too. When someone asks us to get out of a contract, and they have in their full capacity, they weren't sick or ill when they signed the contract, obviously. uh, if they were in their full capacity when they signed it, and so were you, well, that contract really needs to be maintained, because if we don't maintain it, we've basically diluted all the other contracts with all the other people that we've signed.
Yes.
So I very much believe that we by maintaining our own integrity also maintain other people's integrity. And if we go back on something and let someone out of a contract, for instance, that has been signed, then we've basically compromised our integrity and their integrity and the integrity on everyone
Yes.
else who's involved in whatever that offering is. So there's a lot to think about, as we go into business, but it's important to really consider these issues. And I will say, all that glitters is not gold, and I have certainly met people in business who claim to be this or that or the other thing, and were not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
Yes.
appearances were there.
Yes. Yes.
I've met
It's
people who
it's
were
it's a
7
shame.
business
Yeah.
owners that were up to their eyeballs in debt.
Yes. We can't believe. We see.
No,
That's
no.
why it's important to build a rapport, build a relationship, because it starts showing. And as much as people recommend, people also do not recommend. People talk. Oh, don't work with that person. Don't work, oh, don't deal with that client. They're difficult.
Yes.
It might have been difficult with that one person, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're difficult. Period. Yeah.
Check out, get feedback. That's what we're saying, you all listening.
Yes.
Get feedback. And if you're thinking about working with a coach, talk to some people, check out their testimonials, look up the people who are in the testimonials to make sure they exist,
Yes.
right? Reach out to them, Facebook
Yes.
Messenger, don't be afraid. And don't be afraid to ask the person to provide you some people who are currently in their program who you can talk to.
Yes.
Seriously.
Oh,
Because
yes,
it's
definitely.
that important. I've seen too
Especially
many
with the
people
investment, especially with a huge investment, you want to make sure.
Yes,
But it always goes down to what it feels like when you're working. Your instinct, your
yes,
intuition is don't trust
yes.
your intuition. If the first feeling you had it wasn't good, it will never get better.
I like that. That's very true. Yes. If your gut, if something in a discussion with somebody, one of your first discussions, something rubs you wrong, listen to that. So
Yeah.
you all, this has been so interesting, hasn't it? Everybody who's listening, I hope you will comment. I know you all are listening because I see the stats, but some of you don't comment. And you know what? When you comment, you get more out of it. And we also love to know what you think. We love to know, what's your impression? What are you taking away? So, Marjorie, you've given us a lot to think about as we consider what we're doing that is not appealing to high-end luxury clients, and how we can customize, how we can provide an experience, how we can provide incredible amounts of value and to them, and how we can be so different that we really are in a class all by ourselves in terms of what we offer. You've given us a lot to think about, and I know that you have a gift for everyone. And you all listening, Dr. B has a freebie vault. Woohoo! And the crowd goes wild again. Help me out, Marjorie. Woohoo! I need some
Well,
I need some canned screaming people like they have in online, big seminars where that was canned people, screaming in the background, beating their drums, whatever. But the freebie vault, you all, those of you listening, you can go into the freebie vault and you have access to thousands and thousands of dollars of gifts from all the episodes on over a year of episodes on Bold Badass Business. There are so many amazing gifts. There are checklists, there are courses, there are complimentary sessions, there are ebooks, there are just all sorts of things up there, and workshops. Just go look around, get what you want. And of course, we're going to have Marjorie's gift in there as well. Everybody get your pencil. Let me give you very quickly the URL to access the freebie vault. And you can share this with others. I'm happy for you to share it with others, because this is all about getting great people and their work out to you. Because I recognize that so many business owners do not have a budget for training, do not have extra money to put into a lot of programs and courses. And this is my way of giving back. And it's all the guests who come, nobody is paid. Everyone gives their time and gives their gifts to you. So go to bit.ly/free from Dr. B. Again, bit.ly/free from Dr. B. DRB. I made it rhyme, and you'll be able to access the freebie vault. And now for our exciting reveal. Woo! Drum roll. Marjorie, what are you putting into the freebie vault for everybody?
I've got a checklist for everyone, to make sure they're protecting their designs. So it's a checklist to make sure you're looking at all these tips and protect your design, so somebody won't take your design and have it produced somewhere else cheaper. Because
now, when you say design, you mean the design of your business.
the design of these are for creatives, designers, and artists.
Creative designers. Okay.
Their designs.
Got you. But it can apply to others, right?
It can apply to any business.
Really, if you're an author,
Yes.
you've got to protect your
Yes.
intellectual capital. Whatever industry you're in, if it's a knowledge-based industry, you've got to protect your IP, your intellectual
Yes.
property.
That's exactly what it is. It's a checklist to protect your design, your intellectual property, and it can be adapted to any business, really. Any
Beautiful.
for any entrepreneur, any small business.
And I think you had included when they get that, they also get a complimentary discovery session. Is that right?
Yes, there's a 15 minutes laser coaching for free. No strings
Beautiful.
attached, no commitment. You don't need to commit, buy anything. I'm not going to pitch. There's nothing. This is complimentary to just get you going, get you
Moving.
unstuck. If you've got an idea, I'm here. I'm here for you.
Beautiful. What a generous gift. And you all, I'll just say, I too, and we're very different in how we coach people. You can't have enough coaches, you all. I have multiple coaches. I also have my Get Results Now complimentary session application for you in the freebie vault. And you go in and you apply for it. It's a $497 value that you get for free once you've done the application, right? So you all look at just the value of these two gifts today. Oh my lands, run over there now, You should be just hang up, right? Just leave now, go. But really, there's so much good stuff in there. Well, Marjorie, it's just been a joy to spend this time with you. You've given us a lot to think about. I know that I'm really going to be thinking about the experience that I provide for my clients and how can I enrich that? Notice the word enrich that even more. How can I
Oh,
make that experience even more compelling and comprehensive and multi-sensory and valuable for my clients? And I think this is a question we can all consider as we leave here today. So thank you again for being with us. And everyone, Bold Badass Business is always here every Friday, 1:30 p.m. East, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. I was going to reverse it there. We're here
and
every
thank you for
Friday.
having me.
Plus, you're so welcome. It's just a gift to have you. And we're here every Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. And you all, please go to the YouTube channel and subscribe so that you can support me and getting to the level where I can actually offer these little patron packages where you can come in and you can buy Barnsley a cup of coffee. I won't spend it on coffee. I'll spend it on the show. But, a few dollars here and there where you can have yourself, your business highlighted with this show, which is super excited. Super exciting. I want this to be win, win, win all the way around for everyone. And those
I
of you
love
watching,
that.
yes, exactly. Win, 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 win. And those of you watching, maybe today you don't feel like a badass. Can I tell you, sometimes I don't feel like a badass, right? Sometimes we don't. And sometimes our businesses are kind of limping along. Sometimes they're soaring. But here's the thing. If you tuned in today, I know that you are a badass. So keep going, be bold, and things are happening. Everything is happening to help you in your purposeful, profitable business. See you next week.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks so much.